listening to Jigga Said. Oh, I be listening to every show, keeping me all in and on Jigga Said Radio. What you see now on the internet? Nah, I was listening to Jigga Said. Oh, I be listening to every show, keeping me all in and on Jigga Said Radio.
Hey everybody, it's your boy RJ, and I am here to host a very, very, very special edition of JSR. I was about to say GSR. Why was I about to say GSR?
I don't know, child. Alphabets don't matter. All alphabets matter.
We'll get into that later. Mr. Jaremy Lee Turner is here on the couch in the hot seat today.
It feels kind of weird. And I have to say that, being on this side of the table, this side of the couch, no, it's just side of the table. It's different. And I am open and welcoming the experience that comes from being interviewed. Normally I'm on the other side.
So who is Jaremy Lee Turner?
This feels like deja vu. So there
I wonder
why. Jaremy Lee Turner, he is a serial entrepreneur. He is a visionary. He is an influencer. He is a server, a provider. He loves to uplift other individuals to always ensure that they are operating in their best state. I'm all those things and just, and more. And I'm learning more talents about myself as time progresses, as you age and shit. And yes, I'm going to cuss. As you age and stuff, shit. So, things, I felt weird being PG. You learn things about yourself. And as a Capricorn from Chicago, born and raised, west side of Philadelphia, born and raised. I'm not a rapper, guys. I just like to imitate people. So
we'll get into that too.
We'll get into that a little later, I guess. Sure. But yeah, I am all those things and more. And I'm a tech guru, tech nerd. Like that is my core. I love technology, and I love Marvel, DC. I love comics. I love anything that resembles that of a superhero. And pretty sure I'm going to get sniped for that from the interviewer. The conversationalist. Ooh, the conversationalist.
Special edition.
Ooh. And we have drinks here, sponsored by Inebriation Station. I'm an Inebriation Station. So
we're going to get into that too.
Cheers to you. We have.
Cheers to you.
Seems,
even though this is,
deja vu. We took a toast earlier. Yep.
Several.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jaremy, have you meet any brothers, any sisters? Where do you fall? If you do, where are you in that?
So I'm the oldest of three. I have a younger sister. I'm 35, so that puts her at 33. Shout out to my family though, being one of the epicenters of my life. Being a support group and supporting me through.
Support is important.
Support is important in every fashion, as long as it's pure with its intents. I don't mind a good support system, or even if it is a business arrangement, as long as it is a person that you you connect with. They have to have just as much to lose as you do,
right?
Or more. And so like you always want to assess that when you evaluate your interactions and relationships, that they have to be able to say, or you can recognize that they have just as much to lose as you do. Not saying you kind of plotting their downfall or anything like that. It's just more so just acknowledging and recognizing the situation we're in. Right. They have just as much to lose. So you value those relationships more than someone that's just like, he's an acquaintance. Mm-hmm. They don't have the same pool or value to you. One of my biggest mantras that I live by is paying it forward. Being able to take a situation in which I went through, learning the various experiences, good or bad, absolutely, and then sharing that knowledge, absolutely, with someone that's absent of that knowledge,
Right.
and allowing them to grow in whatever form or whatever way that looks like for them.
Absolutely.
So like always, that's why it's important to have that circle of people around you that people, you guys can learn from each other, different fields, different industries, but scenarios may be similar to each other, or a scenario a person went through in this industry may not have gone through this same scenario or a similar scenario at all. And they're in your circle, you can learn from them,
Right.
and you can mentor each other in a way. And what's the best route to go in, because not everyone is versed in everything that happens on this planet.
It's kind of sort of like my grandma would say, my great grandmother rather would say something to the fact of if you have somebody that you're working with and you're growing up with, who's a friend,
Right.
and you get to a point where you have elevated and your friend is not as elevated as you are, or you reach back and you help build your friend up. And the idea is so y'all keep building together,
Right.
and to help each other up the mountain.
Exactly.
And I think that if we as humans could actually realize that if we help each other more than we cut each other down, we could all be so much further in life, I think. So.
Well, I agree with you, but we're going to be more specific with your reference. The African American community should look at that concept more closely and adopt it into the culture that we live in. There
So you
are
would
different
say, not to cut you off, but you would say other communities have adapted that?
communities. You can say, if you want to on a more micro scale, you can say different communities, different races, Hispanic or just Caucasian. They've adopted that concept, that they live by that concept of just helping each other out. Like we oftentimes as African Americans have to work harder because for several reasons, because of the racial divide that's in that's still in this culture that we live in, the climate we live in, and then two, the fact
internal and external.
absolutely
Okay.
internally as African Americans. We're so used to being oppressed, and just like we don't want to share anything because we'll feel like it'll be taken from us. Like during slavery, a lot of family members were separated, and we wanted to hold on to things as long as we could because we feel like it could be taken from us at any moment. And so it was always important for us to hold on to information, not snitching. Like all those things came from being oppressed as an African American, and it's been ingrained in our culture now. And we have to move away from it, recognize where the problem started, and how we can pivot and move away from it, so we can start helping each other more often.
So let me ask you this: for those of our listeners and viewers that may not know what oppressed means, could you give us a general definition of what oppressed means?
Oppressed being an individual that was deprived of normal free rights that were supposed to be made for everyone else. The Constitution being one of the staple documents that's supposed to be equal for everybody as far as rights. Being starved of rights, not being able not being able to function as a citizen of the country that you live in, being rights that are supposed to be open for everyone, not having those same privileges, and watching people like push you down. I think that's, for me, what oppressed looks like in America, especially in America. And granted, this happens all over the world, being oppressed. Just clearly the Holocaust. So there's different moments, fixed moments in time where the oppression has occurred. Right. And it's up to us to recognize when it happens. But also because we were on the subject of African Americans being oppressed, and then us not lifting each other up because we're trying to hold on. We're just being for generations ingrained in us to hold on to something. We have to recognize that and do better at how we lift, not only lift
How
other
is that
people up.
done, though? How is that done? Because there are, as you mentioned, there are different people who are oppressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how is that done, though? On, I guess, a simplistic level, if you would be able to explain what that
Well,
looks
it's several things can happen because I mean we all have been taught initial things when we're little by our parents or grandparents or just generations of knowledge that was passed down, and then we come to 2023 and recognize that doesn't apply. That doesn't work. Like that was maybe created to help them get through their era, their period, but it doesn't apply in this era that we're in right now. Education is education and just being woke. Honestly, it helps. That helps with that whole issue where people are not lifting each other up. There, people feel like I don't want to share information. People are going to steal it from me. That more selfish mentality. I use that very lightly, and ignorant mentality, and I use that lightly too because I know how it is within our race. The word ignorant is a trigger word. I noticed. Ignorant is definitely the one that should be triggered by you because that they're making a mockery of you. But ignorant is simply means just not knowing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just don't know whatever the topic is. Whatever it is, you just don't know what the information that allows you to be privy to that topic. So I think education is one, and I think that one thing in our community is
was going to say that.
Yeah, one thing in our community is education, and we, I know our older generations definitely value education. They was like, and granted, telling people to go to college, telling the grandchildren, their sons, daughters, etc., nephews, nieces, go to college, get your education, and it's twofold. Education doesn't mean an institution. Education means being open to the idea of learning what it is the world has to offer and applying it to your life specifically. That's what education is. Now I say that because I went to college and got my associate's, bachelor's, and master's in that order, of course. And I thought that path of education was the path. Like you have to go to school, get your education, and apply it to the world that we live in. And the truth is, y'all, like, granted, education is getting an education, making it more specific, is definitely important. But the institution process is not for everyone. And I say that as a person that has their master's in information technology management. And even though technology is the focal point of my life, there are elements of technology which I thought that I was going to use because I had a path for myself that I projected onto myself, that this is what I want to do. And life let life be lifing. Things happen in life where you feel yes, right in the good, right in the good, like real shit, like life be lifing. And, I had like this whole vision for myself and ran into a whole issue involving another person, and it changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I no longer had the same privileges or was privy to the same things that I once thought I had because, I became more disconnected because of life events. And with those things that come and go in your life, you just the key thing is being able to is how you handle it, right? Like shit happens to everybody, but it's how we manage it. And so, but with all that being said, like education is important. If you want to go through the educational experience, have that connection to an institution. If you feel like that's what grounds you, by all means, baby, do that. However, I do get sick of people saying that you got to go and get an education. That mentality is old school in the sense of an institution does not define one's education.
Because life is a university.
Absolutely. Life is
Just
a
never
university.
graduate.
You graduate. You definitely graduate. But I feel like at least if you're one person that thinks
Count
this.
that as a graduation? You count that as a graduation?
Which part is a graduation?
When I say life is a university, I said, but you don't graduate.
You never go to your own graduation. Everyone else does. You graduate.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Think about that. The circle of life. The cycle of life.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Everyone shows up. And in a sense, a funeral is everyone's that's your graduation because that's when you stop learning. That's when you stop learning.
Oh, shit.
Hold on. Let me use some applause. Your funeral is your graduation.
Gotcha, bitch. Because you got me, too.
Gotcha, bitch.
But I really want people to understand that. And that was on the fly, actually.
But like literally, I thought that this is what you were saying, but like when you break it down though, simplistically speaking, damn.
Yeah, you're learning to the day you die. You learn to the day you die, and that's when you graduate. So as long as you're open to learning,
well, that shit gonna go viral.
you're learning to the day you die, and unless you choose specifically to close yourself off and stop learning in this process, this journey we call life, essentially you're dying well before your actual graduation. You won't even graduate. You're choosing to drop out of life because you choose to stop learning. And the moment you do that, life is going to get real complicated for you.
Well, damn.
Hold on. Actually, this is more important. So,
damn. So we're here, you all. We're still here. I'm your boy RJ, and I am interviewing. I'm having a conversation.
He's a conversationalist.
Having a conversation with the normal host of this show, Mr. Jeremy Lee Turner.
Yes.
Go ahead, everybody.
Yes, make another sound effect. That's worthy of a clap.
I am dead.
I just dropped some nuggets, some chicken nuggets.
Some chicken nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Like the ones you make at home,
like fresh.
Like some with breadcrumbs and things. Well, we're not gonna mention no names from any of the communities. I don't want nobody over here trying to attack me for their chicken nugget style. But
right. So let me ask you this. Let's go ahead and move the conversation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just
I'll pour myself another shot because the bartender's not here.
Right. So let's fast forward to how we met. Do you remember?
Cocktail Masters. No, before then.
Look at you. Look at Uncle Paul. Look at Uncle Paul.
No. I had to think about that. No, I had to think about that. It wasn't Cocktail Masters. It was for a political campaign. Is somebody here? Okay. Because I'm y'all. If y'all don't know, I'm real scary. It is not because like I'm scary in the sense of like I'll be queening out. Yes, I'm gay. I'll be queening out. But it's more so along the lines of
that later too, you guys. Go ahead.
It's more so along the lines of like if I hear noises, if I see people looking a certain way, if they look more than 2 seconds, what is going on? What y'all staring? Do I need to get up? Like I'll just be ready because I ain't got time to be with one of them people. He didn't. If he just waited, if he just left 5 seconds earlier, I'm gonna be the one that be leaving before everybody else. You ain't gotta worry about me. So
I am fucking dead. I am fucking dead. Do you even remember the question?
How we met? So political event. Brittany, what's her last name? Brittany V.
Burdell.
Yeah, see, I said Brittany V. Yep, I said Brittany V. Mm-hmm. So she was having.
Shout out to Brittany.
Shout out to Brittany. She was having an event here at the Business Lounge Dallas. Business Lounge Dallas.
Business
Stewie.
Lounge Dallas.
Brian. So Business Lounge Dallas. She wanted to have her. She was running for Ooh, she was running for
Public office.
Yes, public office, but it was more specific. But we'll leave it at public office.
You want me to tell you?
I mean, clearly you want to chime in, and you're just letting me hang here.
Texas House of Representatives.
The specifics involved.
House of Representatives.
And
District
RJ,
65.
sure, you did great. So RJ was representing her as far as like putting everything together. Campaign manager?
No, I am not the campaign. I'm communications director.
Okay, see the specifics. I just know what my role is.
No. There was a campaign manager.
Communication director.
Brandon.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to Brandon. I was one of the vendors that was selected for bartending.
I made the worst decision of my life.
I'm not editing. I'm not going to edit that out, but just to let everyone know that's a lie. That's how we met for that event, and I made some drinks. I had to make some makeshift drinks, but I'm as a mixologist. That's one of the things that fix your face. There's visuals for this episode. Fix your face.
I know it's visuals for this episode.
I had to make some makeshift drinks, and I was proud of myself. Those moments are, believe it or not, as a mixologist, one of my proudest moments is being able to make something out of nothing, especially when there is the demand to do so. Like people are anticipating drinks. They don't know that what happened behind the scenes happened. They just know that we're here for to feel a certain way by ingesting alcohol, and so you just have to make it happen any way possible. So you take what you have. Make lemonade, like real lemonade.
It's more than 15%.
No shade to any company that I'm
I
staring
ain't
at.
name nobody.
I'm staring at them, but I'm not going to say it. But but yes, no, like just being able to make something out of nothing, and I think that's what I take pride on. Being a science major, being a mixologist, taking components and making something out of nothing. So, but yes, that's the story of how we met initially, and then
I guess it's pretty accurate.
Are you able to fill in what year that was?
Allegedly.
There was no alleged. There's no A word in that one. What I said.
Allegedly.
Go ahead with your year, and let's move on with another question, please.
I'm sorry.
Another question, please.
Okay, so 13-year-old Jeremy.
The nerdiest little boy you
Who
ever
is
meet.
that?
The nerdiest little boy that you will ever meet, for multiple reasons. Back then, I think we're always in a process where we're evolving and looking for ways to rediscover, redefine ourselves. Even though I didn't think I knew what that fully was back then, but 13-year-old Jeremy was in the midst of a divorce, not because I was divorcing another person.
Not at 13.
Different cultures, different things. Whatever floats your boat.
Jigga, you're black.
Hold on.
Bruh.
So the household was going, and I say this specifically, the household was going through a divorce. Divorces are, especially when the kids are involved, when there are kids involved, it doesn't just affect the parents. It affects everyone in the household, and not even there. It affects the immediate and extended families as well. And it also created
That's true.
It created a rift between me and my other siblings. I was anti-dad for multiple reasons. The main reason being he assaulted me while I was in that age group. I think it might have been 12. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I'm a big superhero fan. And I love superheroes and what they represent. Not only to me, but what they represent in the eyes of society. And when I was assaulted by my dad, I lost my superhero. The pure definition of being, he was he was the Superman of the house. The dad that he took care of the family, and I lost all confidence in him when that happened. And during the divorce, it showed the good, bad, and ugly of what happens to a family starting off in the beginning and starting off all bad. You just cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel. Just going through straight darkness. Being divided, like I said, with my siblings. Having a divorce decree, having a child lawyer hired for $10,000 just for us, the three of us, to manage our emotions, to have a voice in the divorce. And having a divorce decree that stated that we have to go shared custody every 2 weeks to go over our dad's house on the weekends until we're 17 and 3/4. 17 and 3/4 specifically by the court. The court mandated this. So just imagine like your life living in a suburban setting, and the court is dictating, oh, well, even though you hate your dad or you have issues with your dad, you still have to go over there every 2 weeks until you're 17 and 3/4. Or you have a project related to school and you have education always have to come first. So I always found education as my comfort for getting out of those scenarios, because my dad and I used to feud so bad. I never had my own room. When he got his own place out there in the west suburbs of Chicago, Bolingbrook more specifically, Naperville, Bolingbrook area. Excuse me. My brother and sister, they shared a room in the 2-bedroom apartment that he ended up getting. But I never had a space to be able to just be to myself, as I felt like I did at my mom's house. And so every 2 weeks when I went over there, initially, I felt very uncomfortable, and we would
Uncomfortable at your dad's.
at my dad's house, and we would always get into it to the point to where I was counting down the moments until mom picked us up. Eventually, when I got past the 17 and 3/4 stage, I did not have to go over there anymore. And I was ecstatic. I was happy. They said, but that's your dad. I don't give a shit. I did not want to be there. I was depressed over there. Leaving, like just knowing that when it comes to that Friday, when you get out of school, and thinking that as a normal kid, you have 2 days to just be joyous before you get back to this shit, doing homework, and dealing with teachers but I would rather be in school. I felt like I said, I can't wait to get to school so I don't have to be here. That was how defeated I felt during those moments. And so, my dad and I were very estranged for multiple years, and the power of therapy allowed me to forgive the transgressions regarding assault. And just move on with my life, because I was anchored to that. I was still tapping into that anger, and it was tainting my outlook on life. And so, the shout out to therapy. Shout out to my therapist for being able to help me work past that.
So, speaking of therapy, right?
It's important for Black people, y'all.
Definitely.
For every race, but
Specifically because in our community, it is kind of shunned, if you would, and it's kind of sort of looked at like, oh, I'm not going to see a crazy doc, I'm not going to go, you ain't gonna talk me out of nothing.
Well, so, and I'm glad you said it like that, because you see how your verbiage was just in that last statement. You're not going to talk me out of nothing. That is the older generation. They feel that therapy, that's a stigma, that what goes on in this house stays in this house. And so this motherfucking house. Okay. And so that therapy stigmatized us, because it's like we cannot talk about our problems outside the home.
Right.
And it's mainly, again, going back to that mentality of being oppressed, like holding on to something that, because we feel like something's going to be taken away from us. So whether it's DCFS or, Department Child Protective Services, them taken away from the Black family, or just a fear of being judged by neighbors or people that they may know affiliation with. They were like, no, what happens in this house stays in this house. And if you tell somebody, that's going to be your ass. Essentially, yes, literally, it would be your ass getting the ass whooping. So,
I think it's pretty universal across the culture.
yes, it is, and I think just being in walking in the store as a little kid, and don't you embarrass me, because if you embarrass me,
So let me ask you a question, Jeremy.
okay.
When did you create your first big tech, whatever? Like, did you build a robot? Did you start programming something? Like, when was the big, like, yeah, I can do this shit?
So I've always been a visionary as far as a tech mogul, if you will.
Mogul.
Stewie. I sound like Stewie. Expert. Brian. A tech mogul. And so, like, not only have I always tried to learn the ins and outs of the technology, computers more specifically, the always been a tree science major, tech major. It started with the Windows 98 first edition computer, the e-machines that my parents bought from Best Buy. It was definitely my sandbox for my gateway into this realm of information technology. Just intrigued by this little box that was supposed to be able to advance our lives, to forward our lives in the sense to make it better. In some cases, making it worse, but for in general for the better. But the era where we had the 56K dial-up speeds, having 16.
And when you think about that's real slow.
Extremely. Imagine trying to download anything at that fixed speed. Having 16 AOL usernames because you want to continue that 30-day free trial for the rest of your life, and your parents not
Shout
wanting
out
to
to
pay for
AOL.
it. Yeah, shout out to AOL and everything they represent as far as today. And being on that tangent of trying to learn fast, move fast, but just to wait. What's the phrase that you guys use in the entertainment realm? You
Just hurry up and wait.
hurry up and wait. That's what it was like with the 56K dollar speeds. It was a hurry up and wait situation.
Wait a minute, hold on just a second. You just say you guys. Okay, we'll come back
I'm
to
the
that.
younger acting one.
But you say you guys. You're in the entertainment industry now.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean,
We'll get
I
into
don't
that.
see that, but yeah, sure.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, just being the individual that was always impressed by the trajectory of technology, being the one that was always educating everyone in the family, friends of family, friends of myself, and then various associates. Just being that educator, I've always been a mentor / educator, one that pays it forward. Anything I learn, you learn. If you're willing to learn it, I will teach you.
Right.
That's always been my mantra. Pay it forward. But yes, it started with that. That was my breakout role, if you will. From there, I always treated technology as a hobby, a side hobby. She was a side piece. And I was always intrigued because science is one of my loves in my life as well. That's why mixology is such a big thing for me. But science was my major, and so I was always intrigued by the shows like ER, House. Like House is my favorite medical show all time. ER is second for me. I love both of them, but House, and I think this is a great segue. We're gonna stay on the same topic, but just looking at personalities that resemble mine. House, oh my God. He was so witty. And I saw a lot of myself. He was an asshole. He was literally an asshole. Cuddy, shout out.
Case in point. Case in point.
And I loved, before I even knew that I was an asshole, I was like an asshole in training because
let me just go ahead and just for the people that's out there, he is very much so an asshole with a capital A.
a real Capricorn over here. So, as in myself.
Case in point.
January 1st, for those that want to Instagram me. So, House was my all-time favorite show in the medical realm. And it was mainly because for multiple reasons. One, I love the fact that there was an individual that was playing a character that was able to be just this genius and see outside of, like, remove himself and see something that other people don't see from a perspective. And then having the most unorthodox, unconventional approach to solving the problem, breaking a lot of rules or bending the shit out of them, mainly breaking them. But it was like he was right. At the end of the day, it was like he was right. And the moments that he was wrong, it was another situation that was brewing that, that kind of blindsided everyone. Whether it was his own mental and physical illnesses that was clouding his judgment, his fixation on certain drugs that he would take, Vicodin. I'm a real fan of that show. Shout out to Cuddy.
Lisa Austin. Lisa Austin.
Oh, I never knew her real name. Shout out to her because I'm in the entertainment industry, so I should know things now.
Yeah. Do you know who at least the actor is who played House?
I do, but it's not coming to mind right now because of alcohol. So,
Okay.
But he has he plays an American actor in that show, but he has a unique accent because he's British, Canadian, British.
He's British.
Yes, British. Yes. But I love that show for because of that. He played that role in for his character, and just being able to have people that just look up to him, and even though he did not necessarily, and you saw the growth of his character, he did not like working on a team. Like, he was always a loner, and there was something that I could relate to as a person. He was always a loner, and I was always rooting for House. Even when he was wrong, I was like, you got to figure this out, because that's how I talk to myself. Yeah, I made a mistake. I don't feel like my mistake should be one that other people need to worry about or burden themselves with. And so when I saw his character go through that struggle, and oftentimes putting him in really, really shitty positions because he just felt like, I have to fix this, or this is my case, this is my project, or even if it wasn't his project or his case, he was intrigued by the complexity because he was avoiding certain elements in his own life. And that's something that I definitely, as an adult man now, but back then I wasn't an adult. But as a grown man now, I absolutely distract myself with other people's problems. The Superman complex is what I call it.
So, you spoke about being a mixologist and science and loving science. Let's talk about that. Did you ever do anything with loving science? Like,
so science and technology, or just science?
Just science specifically.
So it's the way I look at it is that when you go through life, like, life is not always structured as we predicted, right? And so, like, you never know what skill set you're going to end up picking up, whether it's through education or just through University of Life, right? And so, I think the best part, which I've learned at this age of 35, just now this year, that in 2023, that it is something that I was able to merge many attributes from science, technology, being someone that is introduced into entertainment, just my personality and how it assimilates all into one. I can't even describe it. I still have not processed that all the way through, but just being able to take all those elements and seeing how they are working together. And it's different from when you go to school, you learn stuff that you know that you're probably never going to use. It's a whole different element. These are life lessons.
Calculus for me.
Yeah, it's everything that's math related for me. And
how is it when science requires math?
So, random fact, I got kicked out of school because I thought that I thought that they were, it was synonymous. Like, oh, if you're good at math, you're good at science. Or good at science, you're good at math. Yeah, no, I learned very quickly. Yes, I got kicked out. That, or was put on academic suspension from the school. That, yes, they favor each other. There's elements in both of them that allow them to be great. But ultimately, it comes down to just knowing yourself. And then, like, as you grow, so you just, some things you continue to vibe with and have an interest in, and some things it just stops clicking. And that's part of life. The problem is when people try to hold on to something that they don't need to hold on to anymore.
Just let it go.
Just as Keisha Cole said,
Let it go. Let it go. So let's talk about who Jaremy is as an entrepreneur. So let's talk about some of the businesses that you have created.
That's a loaded question because I am a serial entrepreneur, a serious serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
One of those entrepreneurs, that's, as all entrepreneurs go through, they have to go through the crucible or that journey of recognizing when help is needed, right? Starting off something, you don't always need to have someone there. But as you grow and evolve and have a vision and you want to obtain or reach that next goal, the milestone in your business, you have to have a team. But starting off with the question, or to answer your question rather, started off with a tech business. It was Tech Power initially. When I was in high school through college, it was called Tech Power. And then, it was definitely a DBA situation, sole proprietor situation. I didn't know any of those intricacies, LLCs, S corps. You can't be looking over there. I told you.
Dude, I just glanced over there.
All I know is something could be popping off over there. I'll flip this table over.
Sir, you ain't got to worry about that.
Okay, really serious, real quick. So, I, as an entrepreneur,
like this is a scary movie. What we doing?
As an entrepreneur, recognizing when you need when there's a call to action, which is asking for help, for expansion, for growth. Teach Me Technology is what Tech Power ascended into. Developing personal relationships or developing a connection between consumers and technology. That's being that bridge. That's what Teach Me Technology was, and I felt like it was essential. It still is essential. The great thing about our current generation, and I'm going to say Generation Z into Alpha. There's an Alpha now, y'all. They ran out of letters. They went to Alpha.
Which is made up of letters.
Huh?
Which is made up of letters.
Sure. And so they're part of this internet period where if they want to learn something, they have access to the internet. And not saying that my generation, the millennials, we definitely did. We were the generation that fully accepted the new technology for the time period in which it was. But the model that I had for Teach Me Technology became antiquated. Because it was more so focused on everyone learning the same way. But then as an entrepreneur, you grow, you evolve, you adapt. And Corona actually taught us that for many reasons on multiple different wavelengths. But Teach Me Technology was based on training people online or traditionally. But generally, everyone can just go online and just look up the information that I'm bringing people. Not saying I'm not special, but just saying the younger generation didn't have a use for Teach Me Technology. So Teach Me Technology, realistically, most of my clients that I have now are of the older generation. Baby boomers or Generation X are most of my clients. Then we have born out of Corona, quarantine life was inebriation station. That is the mixology or the bartending business, mobile bartending business that I own. That brings the party to you. A lot of people were afraid of contact with other individuals, especially individuals in a public setting that required people being close or just, doing their normal thing that humans do when they're having a good time. But being part of that era where coronavirus was a thing and people were afraid of losing, not necessarily, younger generation not being as afraid of losing themselves, or as far as health wise, getting into those type of complications, but being connected to family members that are more likely to be affected by corona symptoms and or just passing away because their body can't handle it. So I birthed, if that's a word, birthed inebriation station, and inebriation station was the answer to that dilemma where people were afraid to party in public settings. They wanted to be able to do things on their own or have a proper party or whatever, and not having to worry about the outside, contaminating their circle of friends or family.
So we talked about how we met, right? How did we get to this point right now? How did you and I? How did we get here? Me being a producer for the podcast.
So, it's been multiple, as I pointed out earlier, fixed points that change the trajectory of any relationship I've had. Us specifically, we got here because I host a game show type of event. It's not a bartending service. It's not a game show. It's not a networking event. It's all three, and it's called Cocktail Masters. And if you want to compare it against any type of show that's on Food Network, like the cooking shows. Even if you want to reference American Idol, it favors a lot of those elements. And just being able to have a live studio audience, being able to have 6 competing contestants where they are competing to have the best drink, making it to the final round, and being known as the cocktail master.
When you say they're competitors, it's 6 competitors and not because they compete in pairs.
Yeah, so there's team captains rather. And they are able to either just bring a friend with them that will be their co-captain, or pick someone from the audience where they're able to serve as their co-captain or just their assistant. I think the good part of Cocktail Masters is when the team captain or the group in general is able to recognize the strengths and weaknesses that they both possess. And one might be better at speaking because you have to present your drink, the judge on presentation, taste, and just general knowledge. And when you, as the team captain, you might be the one that's better at making drinks, and then your co-captain, your partner in crime, is better at just presenting the drink as far as the verbiage just behind it and why we created this and things like that. Whatever the case may be, Cocktail Masters is a whole experience, and I definitely encourage anyone that's in the Dallas area to come to one of our events that we throw here at the Business Lounge Dallas. And we're definitely growing. We're growing to where the Business Lounge eventually won't be the space for it because due to good things, because there's more people coming and different themes require different types of spaces. So definitely, if you are in town and we have one, come through.
For sure, and they can find out more information about that where?
You can follow Cocktail Masters Official on Instagram.
And where is that one more time?
Instagram, Cocktail Masters Official.
All right. So back to the question, how did we get to this point with me producing this?
So, yeah, that's right. RJ was actually in the live audience when one of the Cocktail Master events. I mean, we met prior to that. Do you want me to go back there? Or?
No, I mean, you brought it back. Let's go.
Okay.
Now flip it back.
Throw it back. Let me see how you said it.
Throw it back.
Yep. He was in the live studio audience. He was talking. He was observing just what Cocktail Master was giving. He was supposed to be there with Brittany, and Brittany couldn't make it, but RJ still showed up, and he was just observing just the overall concept of how the show was ran, and because he's part of the entertainment realm or whatever. You'll learn more in a different podcast, but he saw the vision, and he was able to see where I wanted to go with it and wanted to be part of that journey. And so he's been, very supportive, just being able to provide insight from the entertainment realm and from where it is now to where it could be and where it will be here in the very near future, with not only his help, but the people that he's affiliated with and the various connections we made with on the podcast show here. And the people...
It's definitely has been a catalyst to some great things.
Some very great connections, the podcast here. So shout out to everyone that's been invited onto the podcast or just known about the podcast and supporting them in the various ways that they have. Right. Shout out to them. And you'll meet them here in the coming episodes. You'll meet those people that I'm referencing. Sure. And then JSR, as far as JSR is concerned, it's a spinoff of Inebriation Station. It's coming because it is sponsored by Inebriation Station. My mixology. And it goes back to just what we were talking about earlier, how everything comes together. Mm-hmm. The technology piece, like how I made the room. I built the room out with the computer, putting the certain software on there, learning about the mix board, how to program the mix board, the sound buttons, knowing the capabilities of our cameras that we're using, like the technology piece, and then being able to bring in the mixology piece, the science piece, just creating new drinks for people, setting the vibe. I'm naturally a host. So all those elements came together for the podcast. I think that's why it makes the podcasting thing for me so seamless and natural, because I'm literally 3 times over in my element. So it's nothing for me.
So let's talk about something, because we did something earlier today, right?
We did a lot of things earlier.
Specifically, we did the promo shoot.
Yes, today. We did a promo shoot for JSR.
We did the promo shoot for JSR today. Let's talk about that. From the thought of doing a promo shoot, right? I know that it was a level of uncomfortability for you.
Absolutely.
Because it was outside your realm. But let's talk about that. Why do you think that is?
I think it was because the podcasts that we do here on JSR Media, they're not scripted. So you'll see when I do my podcast, and even when RJ right now is doing his podcast, it's all about actively listening, finding a pinpointing something, a topic, a word, a phrase, and then allowing that to be your next focal point in the next opportunity in which you speak. It's a little different, right? It's not structured to the sense of we have a script and we're reading it and everything. It's not like that. It's more so along the lines of the uncomfortability was because it was a script, and I'm like, okay, well, how am I supposed to relay these words that are put on this piece of paper? How am I supposed to connect with the audience?
It seemed like you was over there doing Shakespeare or some stuff. Thank you.
Well, I mean,
no,
sure. It was harder to connect because my personality shines here on the podcast, right? And so I don't have that. My personality is not scripted. I am who I am. If you like me, cool. Fuck you if you don't. But it's more so right. Along the lines of the there was a set expectation. We need to have it like this. This is the words we're going to use. Not saying that alterations or modifications weren't welcomed. It was it seemed very scripted. I'm not used to scripted things, and so it made it.
You really was in your head.
I was in my head a lot, and I'm like, am I overdoing this? Do I step this way? Do I breathe? I'm as a Capricorn, and I can just go beyond just saying a Capricorn and make it more personal to me. I overthink things all the fucking time. I've missed so many opportunities.
All the fucking.
Can you say it on mic, please?
All the fucking time.
It's about to be muted. I overthink a lot of things, whether it's because of my past and things that I've not fully worked through, and just afraid of losing something, or being oppressed by something, or which the bigger one is not having control. Control issues is what I have. And so when I feel like I'm in a position to where I may be embarrassing myself, that means I don't have control of the situation. And so during the shoot, for the promo shoot for this podcast earlier, I definitely felt that there were two individuals that they were there for my best interest. You and Jason, shout out to Jason. You guys were there for my best interest, but like I also felt like there was I didn't fully feel like I was in control, and so that clearly, visibly, and physically bothered me. Because I didn't know how to step, I didn't know how to speak in certain elements. But literally, I just had to just trust the process, relax, and take direction from the individuals in the room that had talent to guide me in the direction I needed to be in order for me to complete the shoot.
We got through it. It was long and hard. It was long and hard. A whole 9 hours it took us to film and shoot.
It was
because
9 hours.
it was 9 hours.
That's like somebody in labor, child.
Well, that's what it damn yet felt like.
It was immediate
But
labor.
you had the opportunity to jump in front of the camera, for instance. But in instance, you've already been on camera, right? But it felt different. Why do you think that is?
Control.
Because you're in front of it and not behind it?
I'm not the one orchestrating the show. So with Cocktail Masters or any events that I'm hosting where I am having camera presence, I'm the one that's also the EP. You know, so I'm the one pulling, say, I don't like this, do this, and that. And it's weird when I'm the one being interviewed. It's weird when I'm the one that's being in front of the camera and telling like, okay, show your personality, but say this. Okay, well, there's a script involved. I can be myself, but I need to know. I need time to kind of process that. I think that was the elongated time.
So you had the script 3 days before.
It was only 3 days before, for one. Two,
Try getting the words to getting sides on your way to set and having to have it memorized.
and the elongated set time. All I'm saying is, these are elements I'm not used to, and it put me outside my comfort zone.
Case in point.
And I think the better transition for this conversation would be, oftentimes in life, we're not going to have the control of those type of elements. We're going to be put into uncomfortable positions, and it is literally okay with the notion, idea, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
Because life is always going to present challenges. Life is always going to be able to throw you a gotcha, bitch.
Gotcha, bitch.
And it's always going to be one of those.
It could be Adam Sandler.
It was the Spider-Man for me. And so the web crawling for me, it's going to always present itself in that manner. And it's not what you go through, it's how you handle it. Because we're all going to go through shit. Always, all of us are going to go through our various levels of tribulations, adversities, setbacks, oppression. We're going to all go through that. It's going to be a matter of how we handle that. That's what's going to keep us true to ourselves and test us to see if we're ready for that next level.
I think that's the thing about being uncomfortable. It actually gives you a sense of substance and appreciation for things. The struggles, the valleys, the lows, the triumphs, all of those things. It allows you to appreciate them.
Absolutely.
When you go through it, you have the notion to aspire to something else.
Absolutely.
Aspire to greater finances, greater living situations, greater in my romance,
Right.
greater with being a parent, greater with being a son, a brother. So it's definitely gives you substance, I believe.
Absolutely.
So what's next for Jaremy? What's next?
The evolution of the podcast.
Let's talk about that. The podcast.
So
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the podcast.
So,
like, how did it start?
So JSR, what is JSR?
What is it?
I'm sick of that question.
What is JSR?
Only because there's a background story to it.
We'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, sure.
Watch the behind the scenes.
Yes, watch the behind the scenes. BTS. Yeah. So JSR, Jigga Radio.
Jigga.
It contains jiggas. Jiggas being, and this is something I didn't explain in the shoot so much.
You have to.
Is movers and shakers. Jiggers being a mover and shaker. So as a mixologist, I have a jigger that I use to pour liquid, whatever was vodka, whatever liquor into the actual drink. You pour that into a little apparatus. It looks like a it's not a pendulum. It's the little hourglass. It looks like an hourglass. You pour the liquid into it based on its ounces and into the actual drink or shaker, and then you shake it. So a jigga is an injection into society. They offer.
I like where you put that injection.
Mm-hmm. They offer. I just on the spot. Just came up with that. Their unique cocktail. Their concoction is injected into society, and we, as JSR Media, we want to interview these individuals, have a conversation with these individuals rather, about how they impact the world and what people can take away from that conversation, whether it is vicariously or someone that is looking to elevate themselves in the specific field that they're in. Like JSR Media, we talk about you. We talk about you.
JSR Radio.
JSR
Radio.
No, JSR Media.
JSR Media. Oh, okay.
Jigga Set Radio. We don't say Jigga Set. We don't say JSR Radio because the R is already in the JSR. That means radio.
I just wanted to go ahead and orchestrate that.
Yeah, just for people that, for future reference, if you come on the show as a guest, make sure you just say JSR Media or Jigga Set Radio just works better. Just say Jigga Set Radio. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but yes, but that's the premise of JSR is just being able to interview individuals, connect with individuals, have a conversation with individuals as if we're just already friends or kikiing, and just hoping that a little nugget just falls out from their hair, their weave, whatever apparatus they put on their hair, toupee, whatever they put on their hair, it just falls out. They just word vomit. They just spew something out that someone else can be like, hey, I can use that. I'll take that for myself. That's
it's pouring into somebody else.
Yes, pouring into someone else. One thing I'm going to continue saying throughout the series is your negative experience, your experience in general, will pour into someone else, right? And so that just follows my mantra of paying it forward. Always being able to pay it forward, being able to connect with individuals on a level that you would never, ever thought you would be able to, because you did not think that what you went through, someone else would care about hearing about. So yeah, JSR premise, that's the reason why we're here. And we're going to keep pushing forward. That's what I look forward to. And then the evolution of Cocktail Masters that as we mentioned before, we have a social influencer edition coming up. And that's going to definitely be, I anticipate being one of our largest audiences, and
it's gonna be pretty big.
It's gonna be pretty big.
Pretty
and so
excited.
And
they got to get on that.
Yeah, definitely. And we're gonna have to unpin that and just move forward in a positive trajectory with that. Yeah.
For sure. So, where do you go after you've had enough of being in the limelight? Where do you go? It doesn't have to be actual. It can be if you step away mentally.
That's out of a bottle. I'm kidding.
Clearly. Halfway through one right now.
Yeah, shout out to Bottle Symphonies. No, drinking is just a social activity for me. I don't have to have a drink to be present. I love water. No, water, but bigger than that is I love traveling. Traveling helps me reset. And not only
that's odd, because I recall inviting you on a cruise that you didn't want to go on. I like
have
water.
been on 3 cruises, and I've came to the conclusion that a cruise is just a delayed vacation. The real vacation starts when you get to the actual destination.
Duh.
So for me, I'd rather just fly there. And shout out to the cruises that are out there. And not saying I would never get back on one. It's just that I prefer to just fly somewhere. And then, okay, think about it. Think millennials that's out there, connect with me real quick. You get like a 2G signal on the cruise. Like, yes, you're not supposed to be on your phone. But how am I supposed to post to Instagram if I'm not having a signal?
You're supposed to be fucking enjoying. See, that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with your generation now.
I'm sorry, how old are you?
That's what's wrong with your generation now. So displugged.
I don't think that's the word he actually wanted. It's just a combination of 2 words that actually came out in this one. So, yeah, no, I would rather just, just get there. Anyway, so traveling does so many things for me.
I can't
and I'm
stand
actually
it.
working myself back into it because, side note, it's important to have boundaries. Boundaries on multiple levels with friends, families, work. And relating it, tying it back into your question for disconnecting from the limelight and then just entrepreneurship in general, you have to be able to recognize what that boundary looks like for you and being consistent and brave and courageous enough to stick to it. Because yes, things are going to happen while the big wig is in town, while it's out of town, things happen. And it's not always in your control, but what you can control is your boundaries. And work-life balance, and as an entrepreneur, and they're like, oh, that's a contradiction. No, it is achievable, but it looks different for everyone else. No 2 people or no 2 entrepreneurs have the same work-life balance. And so for me, I have to be able to have that work-life balance. Traveling does that for me. It's the culture, the different cultures, not only just countries, but cities. Nope, I said it wrong. Cultures, not only of just the cities, but the countries, the continents, etc. Like taking that bits of that culture, bits of that culture, and assimilate it into my life. That's what I enjoy about traveling and being able to see the different landscapes. I'm a big mountain to water to land ratio person, so California is ideal for me, or anything that has the same type of setup. I love mountains. I love water more. So if you put me around water, that soothes me, and so that's how I reset. That's how I'm able to kind of step away and then kind of like walk back into the situation. Like, all right, good. What's going on, y'all? Like, what we need to do? What's our next task?
Okay, so I give you a recharge.
Yep, it's a little
Recharge.
A recharge.
Okay, so let's talk about the alphabet community.
What about the plus community? It's gonna be a running joke throughout the podcast. I'm just gonna let you know right now.
For sure, definitely. So let's talk about that. You are a member of the plus community.
I'm straight, bro. Straight gay. No, I am. I'm definitely part of the plus community. Proud to say that. I'm not in the closet. I'm not coming for anyone that's in the closet. It's just saying that I've been through that era where I felt like I had to be in the closet. I had to hide my identity from not only my family but from the whole world. And then it was weird, but when I found more solace from the world than my own family.
Wow.
Not saying that my family wasn't supportive, but I was afraid mostly to get that level of support from them. And my whole coming out story was very unique. Well, it's unique because it's not everyone, no one else can probably say that they went through the same thing. I always enjoy hearing people's coming out stories because, even though we have different introductions to that coming out life, the emotions all equated or relatable rather. And so for me, the coming out story, just briefly, I lived in St. Louis for almost 5 years. Moved from Chicago, St. Louis to Dallas. In the St. Louis era, mom and my two siblings came to visit, and they were watching TV, specifically Ellen DeGeneres. So shout out to Ellen, the Ellen show, and I was cooking for everyone in the kitchen, and I'm listening. I turned it up loud enough to where I could hear Ellen and the topics that she had, and hearing her, doing her little dance that she does. And my mom made a comment, and she's probably going to deny it to this day for a reason. We'll get to it here in a second. But she said, she's very funny, but why is she like, but why is she like the way she is? And I'm like, what do you? No, I'm hearing her have a general conversation in the front room, and I'm in the kitchen, and I'm chopping up a vegetable. I think it was a bell pepper, and I stopped mid chop, and I'm like, "What did this girl just say?" And I walk in there very casually with the knife, and I said,
"With the knife,
the dull ass knife." Yeah, she from West Side of Chicago. She would have knocked that knife out of my hand and did a full reversal. I said, "What did you say?" She said, I think she's a great person. I just don't understand why she, the way she is. And I said, and what is that? Now, granted, I was already gay, based on the, anyway. So, I already identified myself as gay. Initially was a vicarious situation, because I wasn't sure. I felt guilty for having those thoughts. That was, during the era where the divorce was prevalent, and a couple of years had gone by, and since I was the man of the house, I didn't have anyone to turn to. Like, I was supposed to always be on the strong tangent, and so talking about feelings would be a sign of weakness. And so going back to current topic rather, being that person to have these feelings and being gay and not telling your family, it makes you kind of a bit disconnected. They don't know the full version of you. They don't know the full you. And so when she made that comment, something in my gay spirit just kind of woke up and said, something's wrong. Go check it out, girl. Go run over there and check it out. And so when I glided over there and I said, girl, what's happening? Why you say? I didn't know what a sachet was. So
sachet.
Everyone said I have a switch. So
you do.
Get over it. So I went over there and talked to her and asked her like what she meant by that, and she was like, what she said, and I'm like, but what does her sexuality have to do with her core character and what she's portraying as a businesswoman on the show, right? And so, mom,
you're talking about the sitcom and not the talk show.
No, I'm talking about the talk show.
Okay. Yeah,
the talk show was definitely on and popping back then. And so she didn't have an answer per se, but after she left and went back to Chicago, it just resonated, it bothered me. And it wasn't until I watched The Real World. I watched The Real World, and there was a season where there was a guy on there that was gay, and he had cool. It was the earlier seasons. I don't think all of them had a gay character introduced. I'm being facetious. I can't remember his name specifically. If you asked me like a couple years ago, I remembered his name, but it's escaping me in the more later years. Basically, he was 23 years old. He had to have a blood transfusion, and the blood transfusion, because he got into an accident or something, had to have a blood transfusion, and his parents didn't know he was gay. Mm-hmm. And it was a problem because the guy that he was dating at the time was showing up at the hospital. Parents came eventually and was like, I don't know what's going on with my son. I'm going to go in there. And the guy that was there was like, well, I mean, this and that happened. I'm like, how do you know? Oh, because I'm his boyfriend. Outed him in that moment. Wow. And so that was that one scene when I said, oh my God, I do not want a situation where one of my friends out me. Wow. because of a medical crisis. So I decided at that very moment that I need to tell her. I need to tell her and the rest of my family needs to be a strategic approach, because I know that the rest of my family have different levels or different views on homosexuality and all the forms that exist of it. Same form. So, so I decided to be brave enough to talk to her on the phone. I said, "Hey, remember that comment you made about Ellen? The reason why I was struck by it the way I was because I'm gay." It was some awkward silence, and then it was like, "Well, the Bible says," typical knee-jerk reaction that your parents typically have for your child. That they're concerned about the path they're going down. The second thing she brought up was HIV and AIDS.
Where do you see this podcast going? Where would you like for it to go?
I would love to see JSR Media, the podcast, more specifically, according to your question. Two goals.
Oh, it's not going.
Two things I can see happening from this podcast. One, as we mentioned earlier briefly, individuals that are listening to the podcast, as the podcast gains in popularity, they are digesting information and they're coming back for more. And I want to be able to give the listeners and the viewers that information, just being able to allow for them to kind of like check in, obtain something from this podcast, and then apply it, inject it directly into their lives to make their lives better. And for me, that feels like I'm paying it forward.
So what is JSR? Jigga Set Radio. What is that to you?
JSR.
Do you? I hope you understand the way that I'm asking the question. What
does it mean to me?
What is it to you?
It is therapeutic. On both sides. Listening to someone explain their perspective on what their industry, they're living in their industry, they're living in they're in their own lane, and what that life looks like for them, and what the various lessons they've learned in that realm, and then also being able to offer a level of outside perspectives in audience reach, just digitally being able to offer this podcast to individuals that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or whatever streaming platform you are.
Cool, you got it together now.
Shout out to other platforms that the Jigga Set Radio be on. But being able to offer this streaming platform, or this show being streamed on those platforms, reaching so many different people. Streams something. Child, I'm an actor now, apparently. So anyway,
speaking of which,
oh my gosh.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna come back to that. Let me ask you this: how did you say, or what instance happened where you was like, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to start a podcast. So what was that for you?
What was that moment? I'm in therapy, and I saw the power of therapy and how it can literally change one's perspective on any detail in their life. And as a culture, as we discussed before, it's not necessarily praised, looked upon as a good thing to have someone be your shrink. But what moment in time started the podcast specifically? Because I feel like you're asking something specific. The course of show is led by a mixologist, the only podcast led by a mixologist. So it's a spinoff
in the world.
The world. Try that for size.
Did we fact check that?
I did a basic Google search and it covers 97% of my results. A random fact as an IT professional. These search engines are actually, when you search...
Dude, that was perfect. Go ahead. Wow.
Oh, yeah, wow, right? Search engines actually offer anywhere...
It's not rolling anymore.
I know, it's weird. It's just about habit. Only offer
like
8 to 12% of the search results in the entire world. Yeah. So when you think about Bing, when you think about Google, Ask Jeeves...
I haven't heard that one in a while.
Mm-hmm. When you think about what's the one that's anonymous? I forgot. It's not coming to me right now. All of those actually only touch the surface as far as results. That's why multiple search engines are actually preferred, because they all pull from different sources. Mm-hmm. Google's the mantra, of course, but it's not. It doesn't hurt to pull from like the other ones, because they only touch the surface as far as results. There's more in there. It's just not. It's not cataloged, and you gotta use certain words to see it because of popularity, whatever the case may be. But it's always best to search for multiple engines. Anyway, so
that was a good tidbit to know.
Yes. So
the nuggets.
It's the golden nuggets for me. Your question was JSR creation and the purpose and all that stuff. Right. I would just say this: JSR definitely was birthed out of as a spinoff to Inebriation Station. Mm-hmm. Just being able to have the more one-on-one conversation with individuals that are, like I said, moving and shaking, doing the things in the realm, in a sense where you have something that can convey, something to say, something that can be picked up as a nugget or something for someone to digest and apply directly to their lives. Mm-hmm. And so, but also too, like, I love a good, rich conversation. I hate small talk as a Capricorn. And it's fine. It's not moving. It's not recording, rather.
Right. No, that was me doing a camera moment. And it's not even relevant.
The camera was also agreeing with me by shaking up and down.
Sure.
I love a good, enriching conversation. And I think JSR definitely promotes that by centering a lot of the topics, literally everything around the person, the guest. Mm-hmm. This is about you, so it feels like a conversation.
Mm-hmm. So conversations are important in many forms, right? Because you mentioned that you see a therapist. I see a therapist. I think that is important. We've established that we think that mental health is important.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Health.
Go ahead. You know you want to push it. Go ahead.
I'm going to say it again. Shout out to mental health. That is a very important thing for our Afro-American community.
So we know that when we go into the offices of our therapists,
virtually or physically,
they both count, right?
Absolutely.
We know that we go in there and we have a conversation with our therapist.
And ourselves.
For sure. Because you definitely... Oh, that was too real for me.
The timing.
Right.
Back up. What'd you say?
Right. So we have conversations with the therapist and ourselves. And we come to several different realizations in that process of having a conversation internally or external, right? So with that, would you say you've learned that you found better answers with the internal conversation or the external conversation, meaning the conversation with yourself or the conversation with your therapist?
Both. Because there's an initiation point. So you can go to a therapist all day. Like, you know that whether you're paying for it or not, you know that there is that commitment that you make. But the real commitment is not you showing up for therapy, is you showing up for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so what happens after therapy? How are you going to take the homework assignment or the lessons that you learn while you're in therapy, like how are you going to apply that to your life? That's what matters. That's when you're actually putting in the work for building a better version of yourself. And going to therapy, yes, people can applaud it. I applaud it, of course, clearly because I'm in it. But it's more than just going to therapy. Saying it's not like a trinket, right? It's putting in work. Like you have to put in work because the work is not because the therapist told you so. It's because you want to become a better person. And if you're truly committed to that process, and even though it might be scary what that looks like on the other side, if you're committed to that process, then like you should definitely, one would think you see results. And but you have to be committed to in order for you to see results. Half-assing it, your therapist will know, your inner self will know, because you
and
feel
the work
like,
will show or
yes,
not show.
Yes, absolutely. Your friends also will tell you like, girl, you said you was in therapy, and I was thinking about it, but girl, it ain't doing nothing for you. Right. Like one of those little moments, one of the real moments, and you'll find out. But no.
So if you truly submit to the process,
yes,
resistance.
I have to because in order for me to hold myself accountable, I have to fully commit to that. So, like just like anyone that says, let's go 50-50, like, you meet me halfway. No, you have to be committed 100% to whatever the task or the obligation is. And, once I see, going back to our conversation about who has more to lose or equally to lose, if I see that you're fully committed to something, then I'm going to give my 100% as well. But the 50-50 thing doesn't work. That means you're half-assing. And that's the same thing with therapy. You don't want to half-ass your experience. You don't want to half-ass your growth. Growth is, you want to put all the elements, all the chips on the table to ensure that the growth is successful. Not only successful, but legit and honest and genuine. You want a genuine growth. You don't want to grow just because someone says you should grow. You want to grow because you want to grow.
Absolutely. So, let's go ahead and talk about some of the other things that you're doing and that has stemmed from this little itty bitty podcast that's all over all of the major platforms. So let's talk about some of the things that have stemmed from just meeting someone and then it blossoming into a relationship that blossomed into an opportunity.
Those have been, and you'll find out on a later podcast. It's been multiple people that I've met to on the podcast, jsrmedia. Excuse me. That has allowed me to move in different directions outside of the actual podcast originally itself, and as a result, has allowed it to pour back into the podcast as far as growth and just recognition. And so, like I was saying earlier, naturally, I'm a host. Usually hosting in my own house.
Let's talk about them kickbacks.
The kickbacks at my house is an experience. It's lit, man. Like, because
they're cool. They're lit. Experience.
They're lit because I'll be overthinking shit, and so that's when overthinking comes to my as an advantage. Like I literally think about all the horrible experiences I've had as a guest at a host event. And I'm not going to name anyone specific or any entity specifically, but just knowing that I look at it from this approach, from this perspective, rather. I treat people how I want to be treated in general. And so when someone hosts, I'm going to treat them the way I would feel comfortable being treated as a guest. And so for those individuals that, or those individual times, rather, where I'm hosting something, I'm literally thinking of everything I can think of. Even if I have to spend, additional money to, put out for food and things like that. I don't mind doing that because my goal is to make sure everyone's comfortable, have a good time. Because as a person that is an entrepreneur that works a 9 to 5, worked a 9 to 5, is working 9 to 5 now to pay the bills, child. But I understand what it's like to just be able to escape and not necessarily without traveling. Just being able to escape within your circle of friends and things like that. So I want to make sure that every kickback that I have is memorable. I love blending my friend groups. together. People that's new to the city. I love bringing them into the mix, just allowing them to network and connect.
They all crazy. All of them.
Including the one that's speaking. So, yes, I love bringing crazy people together because it makes all of us sane. So, but yes, kickbacks are a real thing. Where were we going with this? Okay.
We wouldn't. I said we was gonna come back to the kickbacks. Then you just took the kickbacks on.
But what was the original?
Shit, I don't remember.
It's cool.
Okay, it's great. So it works. It works. Shit. Shout out to Inebriation Station because now I can't remember where I was going.
Maybe it wasn't because of Inebriation Station.
Shut up.
It wasn't because of Inebriation Station.
Yes, it was. And that's what I'm sticking to. Let's talk about
No, I was looking at this. I said something correct. So.
let's talk about fuck. I don't know what else to talk about. What else you want to talk about?
I mean, I'm good. I mean, I know y'all can follow me if y'all want to follow me.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Cause I feel like we're missing something. We haven't talked about everything.
I'm gay.
Yeah, we talked about that already.
I have multiple businesses.
We talked about it already.
Yeah, cool. We're at the Business Lounge Dallas.
We didn't talk about that. Mm-hmm. So where are we again?
The Business Lounge Dallas in Farmers Branch, Texas, which is basically Dallas. It's Dallas, Texas. 635 in Dallas North Tollway for people that want to look at it on Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever your preferred ways. Cool. Shout out to you people. Yes, Business Lounge Dallas. We started this relationship. All of my relationships have a unique beginning, and it is all encompassing. I'm just reflecting right now, thinking about it in hindsight. All of them came together based on my personality and or something, a strength that was exuding. And so Rose Strickland, owner of the Business Lounge. Yes, shout out to her. Let me get into the last name. I was here and I have my own product called Yodabite. And yes,
That's where we use it. We use it in the studio.
It's actually right there. And so it's unplugged. Somebody unplugged it. I'm about to talk to them about that. I'm going to get management involved.
That Take Productions the one unplugged it. I forgot what the fuck it was. Wait. There's that product placement.
It's not recording, so it doesn't matter.
Huh?
It's not recording, doesn't matter.
No, I'm saying is that product placement?
It's not even in the shop.
It doesn't matter.
So
dropping names.
Yodabite, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later, is one of the products I came out with. I'm a visionary. I'm an inventor. I love coming up with unique concepts. The market at the time when Yodabite came out was in need. There was just like a smart home boom, as far as like how to smartify your home. And my big thing was smartifying your home on a budget, because there was different solutions that the market, as in the IT market, was offering. And a lot of people were either on two sides of the fence. They were like, oh, I want to get it. I don't know what the fuck it does, but I just want to get it because I want the latest shit. Other side was like, I don't need all that shit because I don't even know what the fuck it do. And it's just unnecessary money being spent. So you have to, when anything that you introduce to the market, any product you introduce to the market, you have to have like, why am I introducing it? Mm-hmm. Who is my audience? Mm-hmm. Right? And so with Yodabite, it was definitely for the people that was, I would say, a level 1 smart home connoisseur, right? So they're trying to figure out how to smartify their home without breaking the bank. Mm-hmm. So this would be like an introduction to the smart home, converting your dumb home to a smart home, and the Yodabite would be the answer. Yodabite was the answer to that dilemma, and it still is.
I mean, because it works. It works. I mean, I told you, the ones that you gave me, My grandmother stole them from me, so a few items in her home is using the Yoda. So
Shout out to that.
shout out to that. So any other inventions down the pipeline should we be looking for?
I'm in the process of creating a Black-owned, affordable smart mirror. Project Smirror. Yes, the name probably will not. Marketing probably will change the name, but I'm calling it Project Smirror. It's a smart mirror, and then there's different iterations of smart mirrors that are out there. There's those smart mirrors that just have lights on it, LED lights around them, where you can turn it on, and it's considered a smart mirror. There are smart mirrors that are workout friendly. I forgot the brand that actually does that. That's mainstream. But they have
It's okay. We don't need to drop their name. It's fine.
They're doing their thing with their smart mirror where, it's workout friendly, where you can work out in front of the mirror. And it has a screen behind it. And, it's literally branded for working out. It doesn't do much of anything else. And nothing wrong with that. But the most smart mirrors on the market are specifically branded to something, right? To a need, a call, an action, call to action, right? I wanted to create a smart mirror that, like I said, Black-owned, that's affordable, and to mainstream it, to be able to get people to understand the relevance or the importance of having a smart mirror. Like, being able to have makeup tutorials or just certain subscriptions that, I can bring other companies into based on, what their digital presence is, just being able to offer that as a service to people that have a smart mirror. And that is something I'm actively working on. Again, I'm a visionary. I have an engineer, because of my dad being an engineer. His engineering was more so the mechanics, like cars and things. But my mind is slightly tweaked because technology is what drives me. And so the mechanics, the engineering part is more so tailored towards the technology and how it works. And that's why I've always been intrigued by that. And so the technology and the smart mirror, again, everything's come full circle. I understand the entertainment part, like the need from a social perspective, and then from a technology perspective, how to program it, doing the coding, the lining of all of that. And then those are the two main driving factors on that.
So we were talking about what doing this podcast has been able to do as far as affording relationships and starting other opportunities. Any other opportunities that you want to speak on specifically that you're currently doing?
Yeah, so one of the people that you will end up hearing from, her name is Aqua. She's
Aquabae.
Aquabae. Yes, Aquabae. Shout out to Aqua and all her bayness. So she's actually awarded me the opportunity to be part of the MTS network. Shout out to MTS network. But 2 times in a row. But no, I've actually become the new host, sub-host, co-host to sub-host to
Creating
just making up words. We're just here. The co-host to the MTS network presenting the talent show and Reverse Happy Hour. So with that being said, I'm the person responsible, hosted with, of course, the main host, Aqua, of just making sure Aquabae. Making sure that we bring in new talent to it's in Arlington, and
I was waiting.
Arlington, Texas. Shout out to New Mexico. So, Arlington, Texas, where everything goes down at Tucci's, and
on Wednesday nights. On
Wednesday nights, every Wednesday, they have different. They're gonna moving forward. They're gonna have different themes, but I am host. I do co-host there with them, but it's just I call it the Wednesday kickback, right? And so I appreciate them for recognizing my talent. They came to me about it and saying you would make a great co-host, and so I even though you know how we talked about roles, like I'm talking to the camera, you know, we talked about how you project certain things in your life and it doesn't go in that trajectory, and you just kind of pivot and go with the flow. Mm-hmm. All those moments, all those skill sets that I've learned, literally has been paying off in this role, technology wise, hosting wise, just being witty and
even in the hosting. You're still wearing the tech hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's a full circle.
Yep,
full
that's what
circle.
I'm saying.
You are the one being that has many aspects to it. Right? So,
exactly.
Got it. Good. Where can we find this podcast? To tell the people, where can they find it?
So jsrmedia on Instagram.
Okay.
Currently, the website is under construction and it will be available when the video episodes, the visuals are uploaded and ready for consumption in that element. So there's that, and then you can follow me on Instamedia. Ooh, I just made one up. Instamedia, Instagram. Numerical 2 Silly SILEE numerical 4U on Instagram.
Awesome.
And I'm on Facebook, just Jaremy JAREMY Lee Turner.
Lord, please put that A in there.
Yes, baby. You're gonna find a whole nother individual that lives in Pennsylvania.
So, what have you learned about this process? What have you learned about yourself through this process?
2 things. Consistency yields results and products. And allowing people to be themselves in a space that you create to produce what looks like what is nuggets for individuals to consume. Right. And so like if you cultivate an environment, so I know even starting off with the first one, I've learned first podcast prior to this one. No, this one not prior to this one.
You're not shooting in numerical order.
Right, we're not shooting in order. So like there's the element.
Come on, bring the TV to the podcast.
Brian. So Brian. Yeah, so I've learned that creating a safe turn-up environment allows individuals to feel very comfortable at our podcast. And you will see that. I don't want to keep looking at the camera. You'll see that in our later podcasts that we literally have a disclaimer for everyone that comes on the show. We literally aim to make sure that everyone laughs, has a good time, smiles in any form, whether it's just like a brief smile, like, or like a girl on this floor laughing, come get the paramedics. Right. That's the culture I aim to create, and I also feel proud. I feel proud being able to, because of my consistency, other people see that, other guests see that, and they say, you know what, I want to be on the show too. I want to talk about something.
Something that I'm a firm believer in is laughter is definitely the key to happiness.
It's definitely the best medicine. For sure.
I definitely do believe that because you can be in a fucked up mood, and somebody make you laugh, like that gut wrenching laugh.
Absolutely.
And
I'm usually the one that
definitely will change your mood 1,000%.
But I think that's also, I mean, strangers can do that for sure. Like just various random moments that you have with people on the street, or
people watching.
Oh yes, people watching is therapeutic for me. But also there is the element of being able to identify the certain friends that you have in your circle. And, everyone has different roles in your friend circle. But again, that's the boundaries you set when you in life. identifying who can do what for you, and then being consistent and have a rapport with them. Because, friendships are a relationship, and there is work to be done. It's still going. There's work to be done to maintain that relationship. So there's that too, child.
Okay. So, one last question, Jeremy. Where is Jeremy wanting to see his life in the next 10 years?
What kind of deep ass question is that?
I'll make it short of 5 years.
That's a deep question. 5 years will put me at 40.
Oh, this fuck.
Ooh, come on, Medusa. So, I would say shout out to her, but she's so gone. Anyway, so
Shout out to an inebriation station for these drinks.
so I 5 years. Honestly, one of my things, again, we talked about how life be life and what you initially had in store for you can change literally at an instant. And so for me, I'm not going to look at this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm expecting. And this kind of just opens up everything. I expect to be able to influence people in a level that I could never achieve at the age of 30. I expect it at the age of 35. When I get in 5 years, when I'm 40, I want to be able to, I may not be the richest motherfucker that's on this planet. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But at the age of 40, I want to be comfortable, less worrisome. I want to be able to, again, like I said, inspire the masses in a way that I could never do so by my social influence, which I know is growing. Even with this podcast, it's growing in a way that I was not able to. And
it's not even, at the time of recording, it's not published yet.
It's not even published yet. And
right.
it's already shown growth in that area, in that arena. Just wait till the actual budget falls all the way into place. Baby, it's going to do a 1-2 Sierra 1-2 step. Like it's gonna just go ahead and transition. No, it's gonna just to take off.
For sure. Definitely.
In addition to that, I want to get to that point to where, because my mother, God bless her, she is, she take care of my sister and my brother, my sister and her kids. She has kids now. My niece and my nephew, Avery and Erica. And I want to retire.
They're the cutest little things.
When they're good.
There's no such thing as a bad child.
I don't know about that. I've seen the seed of Chucky. Chucky. I've seen the seed of Chucky. The spawn of Chucky. I want to retire her. I want her to explore the world. I want her to live worry free. And I'm in the process of training her to be an entrepreneur. She's always been in the I need to work to earn. And you should always hold on to that, but there's different ways of obtaining money without going to a 9-to-5. And so I'm in the process of, again, paying it forward. The knowledge that I have as her son, I was blessed to be in a situation to where I could be an entrepreneur for a couple years without being in the corporate realm. And what I've learned from that and bestowing that knowledge onto her, that's where I'm at. And so I want to be able to not only make her life more easier, but also create this generational wealth. Absolutely. That's important. And just S Corp to where all of our business that we have currently, now that we're living, we're thriving, doing our thing, being able to pass down something to our generation. So this is beyond the 5-year thing you mentioned, but it's definitely all in queue, right? So the next major milestone will be 5 years from now. And then from there, being able to really just beef up and ramp up the whole generational wealth idea. So I lied. That wasn't the last question. It's well, I'm just being honest. Jiggers be lying. I know, that part. So
you mentioned earlier that you were an actor. So
I'm an actor.
Do you see that making more of a presence in your life?
The splash effect is real. I feel that, again, you know how, again, life be lifing, and you be taking, sometimes, a lot of times, you're taking on paths or taken into a path that you may not have expected to be in, or be on, rather. And acting is one of them. Or I should backtrack for a second. Being in entertainment in a more official scale. It's one of the things that I did not expect to be into. It, I've seen, being a host, there's little indicators that, that could lead you to something. Unofficially, I was a host. Unofficially, I was a bartender before I became a bartender and a mixologist. I was doing that all unofficially. And then certain events in your life require you to cross that bridge onto the other side, where it completes that process. So, being an unofficial bartender and then becoming a graduated mixologist, right? Being an unofficial host for the various events that's at my house, and now hosting officially Wednesday nights for the MCS network. Like there's
It's going to be more nights.
There's going to be more nights.
More nights.
Not, whether it's NCS or beyond, like there's going to be, I see that now. And so there's an undergrad and graduate process. There's precursors, and then once you recognize the precursors, we move into the space to where we own our shit. And I think that's big in our life, is owning our shit. And so whether it's something that you didn't feel that you would own, like for me, it was the pre-med, initially going into pre-med.
Yeah.
And never even going down a tangent, because technology was the baby that was going to actually be the catalyst for every interaction that I had since then. And it's been true to this day. That's where I see myself and the influence I have at this current moment.
Okay. It's something that I wanted to make sure that I tell you. I mean, you mentioned this earlier with pouring into other people.
Yes.
I want to thank you for pouring into me. I don't know if you realize that.
In what capacity?
Just being there in some difficult times that I have had. Hell, that's the last month, I can go as far back as 6 months. You know what I mean? Just what I have experienced over these last few months. You've definitely been a great deal of comfort, support, have definitely helped with my mental, and I'm appreciative of that. So extra. It's just so extra.
It was a privilege.
Oh my God. But I am very appreciative, and I want you to know that. In front of the people, I can say that because I've said it to you privately. But I do want you to know that in front of the people, I am appreciative of you.
Well, I received that, and thank you for that moment of being courageous enough to say that, because it's going to be, air in front of everyone. So that's very brave. I can also go into record and say that I'm appreciative of you and the various contributions you've had to my life in regards to just exposure, elevation and confidence through the things that I've gone through, which, I can't get into that at a different podcast, I guess. But
because this one has already been 6 hours long.
It's definitely been this is definitely qualifying as the longest podcast, and it's going to be chopped up. Some of our equipment failed, so we're going to have to make the best use of what we have. But I think both of us have a good yin and yang.
For sure, definitely.
There's not a moment in time where I felt, again, going back to the whole having just as much to lose and things like that. always evaluating your relationships with any individual you have, and recognizing that you have to step up for the friends that are there to support you. Like, recognizing who's there for you, what contribution they offer to your life, and how you can enhance it in the way that, doesn't put you too far outside of, your livelihood. Like, just those elements plus more, those are important to recognize and to be able to, I guess, just pour into, like fully,
Definitely. For sure.
give yourself into. That's it.
Gotcha. Well, I think we can go ahead and end this 9-hour podcast.
It's not 9 hours, but it's definitely getting 2.
It's definitely long. The longest one, as it should be.
As it should be, because it's me.
As it should be.
Again, I am this guy.
Send this guy back. Again, I am your boy RJ, and you have been tuned in and listening to and watching
JSR. Say what conviction. Say it from your chest. Say it with your chest, Jigga. You gonna let me close this out?
Thank you.
Again,
Gotcha, bitch.
Gotcha, bitch.
Throw it away and quit. I can't take this abuse. Okay. You have been tuned in to a very special episode of Jigga Set Radio. I'm your boy RJ, and we out this bitch.
Thank y'all for tuning in.